the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
About 3 minutes after 7. Please read the poll.
Trustee Taylor.
Present.
Trustee Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Johnston is not here this evening. Trustee Gaffney.
Here.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
Trustee Miller. Here. And President Arnold.
Yep. That takes us to the citizen speak portion of our agenda. The first order on that is Charles Mashmeyer, Northwoods Restaurant. Charles, you're in the front row. It's all to you.
Okay, on May 30th, we're having a little going away party / benefit for one of my long-term bartenders, David. And he's actually hosting this affair, and we would like to have permission to stay open until 3 on that particular night. He's calling in some of his bands and things like that, so we have a little music and that. It is general, nothing that I particularly like, but it's party, I guess he can take out what he wants. But, and then the benefit side is a portion of the proceeds is going to Shy Rock Nation is the name of the organization, and it helps inner city youth with school supplies and things like that. So I'm just gonna get your blessing on staying open till 3.
Charles, I missed it. Did you say May or April 30th?
May
May.
30th, Friday.
That's a Friday night.
Friday night.
That's why this looked at up to make sure. Normally, it's a 2 o'clock license, and he is requesting to be allowed and extended an extra hour till 3 o'clock. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Motion by Waiter, second by Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Good luck,
So
have
ordered.
fun.
Yeah.
All good?
Good. We're gonna move the next item down to under committee reports, so Trustee Taylor can handle that. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience tonight who wants to speak before the board? Doris?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on.
For those of you who don't know, this is Doris Warren. She's kind of a
Is it gonna be bad?
school district watchdog. And I applaud her for all the effort that she puts into this. Doris, if you don't know, is a CPA and a very talented individual at analyzing things, and whenever she comes here, she typically has good things, or she has things to tell us that are well thought out. So, and her husband Matt back there is on the library board, and obviously he's sitting in the back, but he doesn't want to interfere with your presentation. Go ahead, Doris.
Thank you. I handed this out for you guys, so I'm just gonna go over a couple of things. I thought it'd be easier if you could look at stuff, so that it wouldn't just be numbers flying, past you. So the first page I called deconstructing your tax bill, because I wanted to start out with where are we at with taxes, because I think that's really important when we're thinking about what's going on with the school district. And I rearranged it by who took the most to who took the least. And as you can see, CM201U, this is my actual tax bill, so I just did my own house. I assume that, different houses would have different, but this is mine. So I'm paying $3,200, almost $3,300 a year in the most recent year for them, which represents about 63% of what I pay in. They've done a kind of an abatement, or what they call a rebate, the last 2 years, so that they took $200 off. And I'm about in the range where that should have been about the 200, so I added 200 for 2 years, which is what that 3693 is. And if you had calculated with that, I'd be more like 66%. So, and when you look at the rest of the actual, taxing bodies as you go down, you can see that the amount that they're taking is so much less that, even if in the case of this body, if you cut everything you had by 50% and just went bare bones minimum, you'd save me $340. And in 2 years or less, the school would have eaten that up. So until we can sort of look at that, and all the bodies can think about what is the schools and the amount of money they're taking in taxes doing to everybody else in the districts. So if you go to the next page, you can see kind of a 5-year, because I went to the Will County site and pulled the 5-year history for my property. And you can see, you know, there's, the tax rate has increased over the last 5 years. 2013 is not there yet. Then there's the total tax that we paid in on our house. Then you can see the land, building, the total exemption, and the taxable amount. So you can see that my property values fell by about 31% in that time period. And my tax went up 11%. You know, and if you include the rebate, it would be more like 20%. Because the rebate would increase it enough to take it up quite a bit higher. And the projected worth of my house at this point is about $140,000. The thing and the issue that I would like people to think about, and that's the reason I'm coming, and then I'll give you an update on what the schools, the direction they're taking. I think that what the schools are doing across all the villages and across all the taxing bodies, it's gonna come to roost for everybody, because every year they're going up by 200 or 300 a year, and nobody else can increase their taxes. Nobody else is, you know, can do anything, because what they're doing with their actual fiscal irresponsibility, in my opinion, is causing problems for everybody. It's gonna continue to roll into the future. So if you go to the third page, this is the direction the school board's taking. When I came and talked to you guys a number of months ago, I was talking about that 21 million, you know, the info they had, and that they were gonna be doing some building in the district, or trying to address some of their road safety issues. And their most recent finance committee meeting that was at the first week of April, they have finally come to their recommendations that they're gonna take to the board. And it's been my historical observation that when they come to the board, they hardly ever reject it. So I'm assuming that the plan they're going with is gonna be the one they take. And what they're right now planning on doing is expanding classroom space in Monique to about $1.2 million. Because they wanna have some more computer space, and they wanna have some, I think it's for special needs, you know, some additional special needs classrooms. They're gonna spend somewhere between 1 and 2 million on just additional district improvements, like maybe, they didn't really say what those were, maybe it's gonna be girls softball field, some of the other things that the district would like done. They're going to leave all buildings in Crete as is. They're not gonna address anything in Crete. They're not gonna do anything with either elementary, and they're not gonna close the 6th grade center. However, they are going to move all the students out of the 6th grade center and build on the Monique Middle School and put the 6th grade students there.
University Park.
University Park, I'm sorry. They're gonna put them there. So, right now with that 21 million, they've already borrowed against some of it. All they're doing is expanding. They're not closing anything, they're not contracting anything, they're not closing that building, and they're not gonna do anything about the elementaries in Crete unless we pass a referendum. They also are running losses. They have a projected budget shortfall for this year of 3 million. I think their next year has a 3 million shortfall. When you look at their audited statements, there have been a couple of years where they were in the black, but in the last 10 years, they haven't been in the black a lot. And all of the life safety issues in Crete are unaddressed. So I think that the kind of the direction they're taking, the reason that I have the front cover as what would you do is because I don't know how we're going to operate in individual areas, Crete and the other communities, when the school board members we have are taking these kind of directions. The direction they're taking is expansion. We're not growing in student enrollment. We don't have the money to cover the costs. They're expanding the buildings and they're not contracting. And the reason I wanted to update you on that is because I think it affects everybody. And I'm probably gonna go around, at least it's my intention, to go around to all the other taxing bodies and to go to the other villages. Because I think it's, you know, I think it's time for everybody to think about this. I know you have a lot of important things to do here, so I'm not. But it's time for everyone to think about this from a different perspective. How do we get better decision making out of the school? How do we make better use of the funds they're getting when they're taking 60-some% of every tax dollar that we're paying in? So,
Doris, so what you're actually saying here is that they're gonna just basically burn up the $21 million, the majority of which will go for operations and nothing will be tangible when they get all done.
I don't see how they're gonna do anything else. I mean, they are gonna make some of those changes. They are gonna move the 6th grade students out. And I think they need to do
What's
that. So I
the
agree with
cost, what's the cost to add on to the middle school University Park?
Matt was asking me that, and we didn't really go over it, but in my mind, from some of the meetings I went to, I want to say 11 million, but I could be wrong with that. And I went back to look, and I didn't see any number in any of the stuff that I had. You know, because that was not initially kind of one of the things that they did numbers to, that was sort of an after the fact kind of solution. But I wanna say it's about 11 million, and because it's a complete rebuild, you know, they're not,
Again?
you know, they're, well, a whole section, and then they have some water issues there that they've always had, so they have to address some of that.
I was gonna say, I mean, when I was on the, what was it, the steering committee
Yeah.
years ago, we looked at doing that, and if I remember right, Healy, Schneider, and Bender went there, and we looked at it, and it's like, it's in a floodplain already.
Yeah.
There's already issues there, and I didn't think it was feasible to do that. And I'm just going by memory, and I don't, you know, that was 4 years ago or something like that, so I'm just not, it's interesting. I mean,
What's so surprising here, for those of you who are not even maybe real fluid with what happened, but they rated all this stuff. Remember that? We went there one night, and I think, Dan, I think you were there, and I'm not sure who else, I think maybe Mark was. They rated everything. And adding on to the middle school
wasn't,
did not come in at high rating, neither did Monique. It was all pretty much Crete Elementary and a couple other places that ranked the highest in the needs department by the way that their analysis went.
Correct.
So they paid for this, I don't even know, the third analysis by Healy Bender probably spent $1 million with those guys already, and they're not even paying attention to what they've been presented with by way of facts.
Well, I think the thing that bothers me is that they've also, you know, they've been very adamant about how they're interested in community input. And every person that has been at those meetings, and it's not a lot of people, but I mean, some people that did show up, have all said they want the elementaries here taken care of. And in my opinion, adding to Moline is a wish list item. It's not life-saving. I don't understand why that's the direction they're taking. And moving the students from the 6th grade center and not closing the building, to me, I don't think that cuts any costs. I mean, I know they have things.
Well, what's gonna be in it if they're not gonna if they're taking all their students out of it?
They have some computer, you know, the IT department, I think, is in there. But,
basement,
you know,
I think it's like basement or something like that.
I'm not sure what is gonna be in it. And they seem to think that they're not being fair to at least this is a thing that I've heard in a number of the finance committee meetings that I've attended. They don't think they're being fair to the taxpayers if they don't go out for referendum about this issue.
What? They don't think they're being fair to the taxpayers if they don't go out for a referendum.
Right,
That's like right out of the Department of Redundancy Department.
yeah. And so I'm just bringing it up because I want everybody, you know, certainly our elected leaders, for you to know the direction they're taking, because I think the direction they're taking is wrong. I don't agree with it.
Are they presenting this recommendation this week?
You know, it wasn't on the agenda, but that doesn't always mean they don't do it, so I'm not really sure. It'll be either, I would say, this month or next month, but it's coming up soon because they want to have this done by not this fall, but next fall. So even, I mean, as everyone knows, there's 4 board members that are gonna be up for election in the next cycle, but those people will barely be in office and they're already gonna be ripping ground, so that they're not gonna be able to stop them.
It's already done at that.
It's a done deal. Doris, you know, you talked about a rebate. As I recall, what they did was a tax abatement.
Yeah, they keep sort of switching, so
They
I
probably
use,
don't know what they're talking about, is probably what the problem is. Because what they did is they abated $500,000 worth of taxes. Well, when you're already running a $3 million deficit, who in their right mind would do such a thing?
I don't have an answer for you, Mike. I mean, and they did it again. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I thought they did it only one time, but she
They've
said
done it twice.
Oh, boy.
Cause
I
I
mean,
was,
not that I wanna pay higher taxes, but now you were on, at over 2 years, you're $1 million behind the 8 ball.
and if you look at, like, if you look at the slide that shows my actual taxes, you can see that there, when the increase, which is that tax increase line, in 2010 it was $387. In 2011 it's $57. In 2012 it's
So you can
$76.
see their rebate kicked in right there,
They're not,
or
that's what it
whatever
is.
you call it, whatever they want to.
Because my taxes normally go up only $50 a year, you know, so I just want everyone to be aware of what's going on over there. And this is what, when they do most of these communications, they're in the finance committee. And then they just bring the recommendation up to the board. And I've gone in front of the board, even at the last meeting, and said, why are you going to add classrooms to Monique? But
It was my understanding from talking to John Rogers, who's not banished from the property, but there's space at Moni Elementary that could have been converted to classrooms that they
we are spending at that school for 40 students, approximately $1 million in salary. You know, and.
Really?
Yes. I was really shocked by it. I went to talk to.
40 kids.
Yeah, because,
40 teachers.
yeah, I went because of all the.
Kids?
40 kids. I
That's
went to
the
talk to-
alternative.
That's alternative.
The alternative
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
And I went to talk to Bob Bruce about it. I said, you know, if this goes out to the people, it's $200 million at 40 kids, people aren't gonna agree with that. It's their intent to put more, you know, special needs children in there because of field training. But I don't know how they make the decisions. The decisions don't make sense to me. So they have all these issues. I just really feel that we need better board members in there. We need people in there that really, it isn't just somebody just popped in there. We need people in there who are good. So if you know of anybody, you know, if you can talk to anybody, it affects everybody what's going on there. They're just not doing a good job.
Doris, I had a meeting with Robert Bruce about 8 to 10 weeks ago.
He's leaving.
Did
Yeah,
he
he's
leave?
leaving in 2
He's
months,
he's going to the.
which is a sad day for people
Yes.
trying to get information.
I'm guessing your information is probably more accurate and more updated than mine, because what he told me, and he gave me a list, and I'd be happy to share it with you if you'd like,
Okay.
of what their plans were, and this is different, this is way different. In fact, I talked to you, Mike, just briefly about it, if you recall, and it wasn't anywhere close to this.
Well, this was just if you, you know, and I'm sure you believe me, but if you wanted to look at the minutes that they're gonna approve at tomorrow's meeting for the finance committee, these were the recommendations. I pulled them right out of that.
Hmm.
You know, so this is what they're actually intended to do.
Hmm.
And I'll be surprised if the board doesn't go along with them, because there's not usually a lot of disagreement in
What
them.
time is their finance committee meeting?
It's the first, I wanna say Tuesday or Wednesday of the month, and it's at 6:30, so it's called, yeah.
Is that?
No, it's like, it was April 1st, no, April 2nd, it's April 2nd, so it's the first one, it's the immediate one.
Okay,
It was
but
right around
did you
that-
say there's one tomorrow again?
No, tomorrow's the
It's a
regular
regular
board,
board.
the regular meeting, rather at the regular board meeting. So this is when they bring, you know, they bring their minutes and all that. It wasn't on the agenda, but I don't know what they're gonna talk about tomorrow. They have a bunch of, because of, they're still not having settled their teachers union, you know, contract, so they have a lot of things that they're trying to get through that they're not really getting through.
Do they have citizens speak at the financial, do you have citizens speak on there?
Actually,
or no?
it's a little more give and take there.
Oh,
than
is
the
it?
regu- So you can usually make comments, and they do have people speak.
Yeah.
And Maurice Brown, who's the chair for that, actually will listen to you and let you speak. But,
Do you understand what you're saying?
yeah, he's an engineer, so he understands a lot of stuff, but nobody on those committees is a finance person. So, you know, I really think they need someone who understands accounting, and they don't really have that. They just don't.
Agreed.
Well, I think it's one thing to, you know, tell them that we're not happy with their plan, but do we have any alternative plan that we could give them some specifics on what we think we might like to have? Or another group, or maybe get enough people on
You and I have
board?
been through that.
We have been.
We went out there and gave them all the input.
We did.
You know, we were joined by the people from Moni, singing the same kind of
Song.
song about what we felt the municipalities wanted out of this. You know, speaking about neighborhood schools and keeping the kids in town up until at least 5th grade. And, you know, that went absolutely nowhere, as you can see
I
here.
was gonna say, from the
Yeah, you were
meetings,
there too, I think, Dan.
from the meetings in November and December, I came away fairly confident that they listened.
I did too.
I believe this is
And
disappointing.
this is not
This is
what,
different than what I would thought.
this is not what
direction they were
people-
going.
Well,
this
they
is
haven't
not
even,
what community people said should be the roadmap at all.
and they had the facilities committee, and, you know,
I was gonna say, the facilities committee, when that was, cause I was on that, when we did that, the recommendations were there, then when they had Healy Schneider vendors go back this last year, I mean, I asked, it's like, why are you doing this again? It's nothing, you haven't done anything, so nothing has changed.
That's
So
right.
why are you
If
spending
anything,
the
it's
money?
gotten worse.
Yeah, so why are you spending the money on the same thing? I didn't quite understand that myself either, at that time.
And there was no answer, was there?
I don't remember what anybody, I don't think there was, I don't remember them saying anything, but nothing changed. But, you know, how many plans there has been in place, and they always, I mean, we put that plan together, that school was supposed, the 6th grade center was supposed to be gone, You know, I mean, there was all that long-term plan that was already there, and why aren't they using that now is what I don't understand.
And Vicky Carlos, you know, I pushed and got her on the most recent finance committee, and, because she was on that
She was
committee
on
very
when I
nice.
was-
Another CPA
You know,
too.
they did not actually even present. I haven't seen the actual facilities committee people present, and I go to a number of these meetings and follow it. You know, I don't like what they're doing, that's all I can really say. I don't like how they do it, I don't like what they're doing. I really felt like they listened, it doesn't seem like they did. I just want everyone to know that, because in another year, there's 4 going up for election, and I really want somebody on those boards who actually is responsive to the communities, because I don't know who they're responsive to.
Yeah, I guess that's really a problem, Doris. Well, thanks for starting the meeting off on a high note.
You know, and I just wanna add, I love Crete, so I don't really feel depressed about this. Knowing what they're doing just gives us opportunities to do something else. So don't be depressed.
This almost kind of reminds me of the state pension issue. You know, there really is no apparent solution except crashing and burning and starting over. And I sure hope that doesn't happen here.
I agree with you, and because there's a lot of discussion, even, I'll just add this one last point, in this state, because, I don't know if everybody knows, but the 5% state tax is gonna expire, and so there's a lot of fighting downstate about what they're gonna do with that. The Republicans don't want to continue it, the Democrats do. If they don't continue it, right now, there are 38 districts in this state that are going bankrupt the next day.
Well,
You know, so,
I mean, we're
Big
not
problems
gonna
coming.
be in great shape if this
Okay.
happens either without them returning us to the 10% of the 10% of the dollars collected. If it stays at the 6% rate that it is now, you know, you're gonna lose 40% of your revenue. You know, for us, that'd be 300,000 maybe, something like that. I mean, that's a lot of money. Where would you replace that? I don't know how you would. And when we're in negotiations with the police department, right, 2 different unions, you know, that's something that I bring up in our negotiating session because, you know, when Quinn gave his budget address, you know, that's just a suggestion. Where it actually goes and what gets voted on and what happens is anybody's guess. So, you know, you can't really feel too comfortable about anything you do.
no, I agree with you.
So, it's really kind of, well, it is what it is, I guess. Anybody have any more comments for Doris or questions?
I will continue to let you guys know
I
what's going on.
appreciate it, Doris.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doris.
Yeah, I applaud you for sticking in there and, yeah. Okay, is there anybody else that has something come before us tonight? Mr. Seahouse?
Mayor, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Don Seehausen, and I just have a few questions. I've been trying to satisfy, doing some research on what I think is important in the community. And they're all related to financial auditing type issues as well. One of the questions that I have for this evening would be, are part-time employees eligible for health insurance? Anybody?
As a general rule, no.
As a general rule?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Employee health insurance enrollment, who determines qualifications for village-provided health insurance benefits? Is that a board-level thing? Is that an executive issue?
Restate your question.
Employee health insurance enrollment, who determines qualifications for village-provided health insurance benefits?
Well, if you're talking about if we can exclude anybody as part of the group, the answer is you can't. They go into the IPVC as a group.
Okay,
So if you have some kind of pre-existing condition, they can't exclude you.
but if part-time employees aren't eligible for insurance,
There's only one person that's part-time here that has insurance.
what about in the past, personnel that aren't employees of the village? Who has that final authority to enroll that type of an individual?
I don't know, I've never enrolled one.
Okay, so there have not been any,
I didn't say there haven't been any, I said I had never enrolled one.
you haven't, I'm just asking
Nobody
a
on the
question.
board has enrolled one either.
Okay, so then the final authority would be with somebody else because none of you have enrolled anybody.
No, it would lie with the board.
Okay. The second question I have, I'm researching costs associated with vehicles assigned specifically to appointed managers and supervisors of the village. There are 7 vehicles that I'm aware of that appointed individuals drive. And they drive at home, they drive it wherever. Assigned vehicles are being driven to and from the employee's home, but are employees being issued an IRS 1099 form at the end of the year?
I don't know, I couldn't tell you.
So where would that answer lie? Who would have that answer?
I don't know. You know, Mark?
The individual may know.
Well, but it's a privilege to be assigned a vehicle. But when a vehicle assigned is used for personal use, hypothetically going out to dinner, going to
I
the
know what
grocery
you're
store.
asking me. I don't do 1099s, I don't do W-2s. I don't know the answer to your question. But if you ask the individual, I'm sure they would know the answer. I'm sure we have the ability to find the answer out here in the office. We're not gonna find it out right now, though.
Gotcha. Okay, so my next question to that would be, trustees, are there specific policies or procedures actively detailing an assigned vehicle permitted use or a prohibited use? Case in point, let's say, there was an incident up in Glenwood recently where a vehicle was involved in a car accident. Can employees use their vehicles after hours, drink and drive? You would assume that. But can they transport family members, friends in those vehicles? Is there a policy specifically regarding assigned vehicles?
No.
None, okay. And then I just asked, who pays for gas, iPass, insurance costs?
Village does.
Village pays it all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's why I would assume that if they were using it for their own personal use, that there would be a 1099 issue, because it's a benefit. That's just an assumption. Next question, and I've only got 2 left. Mayor, do you submit an annual budget itemizing conferences, hotels, travel expense, meals and entertainment by department? And if so, when do you submit your annual budget?
Well, the budget is being developed right now for the coming year, starting the 1st of May. And the departments that go to conferences and things of that nature, there's a line item on it for that.
That's what okay. So it'll be submitted before the 1st of May?
No,
Okay.
has to be done before the 31st of July,
It'll be adopted by then.
by the 31st of July.
Okay.
It's called an appropriation ordinance, it's not a budget.
Okay. My final question would be, Village Board. Recently, the Village of Moline hosted a special meeting for all the residents and board members to attend, where the auditing representative, in our case, Sikich Auditing, could openly review the Village of Crete's 2012-2013 annual audit, where those in attendance could ask questions. And not to mention, if you had an open meeting like that, it would be very beneficial to the new trustees who may not have looked at the audit or don't understand the audit, even the community at large. Would you consider doing that?
We actually had the auditor in here before doing that. You just weren't living in town at the time.
So I'm just asking, would you consider doing that again?
If the board thought that that was of value, we could do that, sure.
Okay, maybe you have discussion on that at some point in time. Thank you, sir, that's all I have.
Anyone else? Okay, let's go to the unanimous consent agenda.
I went up to paying the bills for TLC plumbing for $4,570.
And in the absence of trustee John Dunn, I approve public safety.
Anybody else have additions or corrections?
Hearing none, I move for approval of the unanimous consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Waiter, second by Milburn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. Under, reports, Dan?
Mr. President and trustees, you'll recall back in December, swore in our 2 part-time code enforcement officers in animal control. And it's been working out really well. Heard from a lot of people in the community that they really like the 2 individuals, and they're doing a great job. However, Tracy Garcia has decided to take a position with Eastcom. So she has moved on because it's a full-time position, and she can get benefits and health insurance there that she couldn't as a part-timer with us in code enforcement and animal control. So we are going to tonight introduce and swear in our new animal control and enforcement officer. And so we'd like to have Ryan Allison come up so we can swear him in.
Usually likes me to stand back here with your back towards something we can have a fight. Sorry. Okay. I, Ryan Allison,
I, Ryan Allison,
having been hired
having been hired
as a probationary part-time animal warden
as a probationary part-time animal warden
and code enforcement officer
and code enforcement officer
for the village of Crete,
for the village of Crete,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully enforce
and I will faithfully enforce
the ordinances of the village of Crete
the ordinances of the village of Crete
and abide by the rules and regulations
and abide by the rules and regulations
of the village of Crete
of the village of Crete
Code Enforcement Department
Code Enforcement Department,
and discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the Office of Animal Warden
of the Office of Animal Warden
and Code Enforcement Officer
and Code Enforcement Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have nothing further this evening.
Okay, Steve?
We're just, still, looking at the contract for our, test, for our, water, amniotic system. We're kind of just, going over that contract again. So I'm hoping by the next meeting we'll have a, contract so we can have everybody look at it, get it approved. So, other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Dean?
Nothing there.
Mark?
Dan, I can't believe you didn't take the opportunity to comment on the voicemail that Marty sent everybody.
Thank you.
You wanna segue into that real
Yes,
quick?
yes, yes. Normally, you either hear nothing or you get calls that indicate that your animal control and code enforcement people are doing too good a job, and you've got an upset citizen who wants to argue about what's going on. But in the case, recently, Debbie Pattison, who's one of the new enforcement officers, we received a call from a resident here in the village, just really commending her on doing a fine job, not only explaining what the violation was, but pointing out some things that the individual could do to rectify the situation, And then, just being, very, cordial and working through the matter with the individual, so, I'm sorry that I.
Yeah, it was a super voicemail, thanks for forwarding it to us, Marty.
Yeah.
Ryan, you got some pretty big shoes to fill there, you got like 3 or 4 months to get that call in on.
Yeah,
Having, dealt with you in the past, I know how you operate, and I'm sure we won't have any problems, and we'll be getting that call soon, so good luck. Last Monday, we met with FOP for the first time in negotiating the upcoming contract. We've got another meeting scheduled for the 22nd, and I'm hopeful we can wrap it up by the time their contract expires, but we'll see what happens. I'm anxiously awaiting a date to start negotiating again with MAP, which is the officers union, and that'll be upcoming, I'm sure, shortly.
I put a phone call into the attorney Friday.
Great, so maybe getting some more information on that in the future. That's all I have.
Steve, or excuse me, Hal?
I had a phone call from somebody who wanted to know if the gas prices in Crete were going up in order to pad the road and bridge account to fill potholes. Although it's a creative idea,
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No.
the village of Crete has no effect over the prices of gas. So
We
you
could buy
really
Texaco.
have to take that up with, whoever it is out there in the middle of winter that's changing those numbers every hour. They keep going up higher. We do get our portion in the form of more fuel tax, but it is not something that we have control over.
It's based on population. That's how we get our motor fuel tax money. So, we can buy we can have all the gas stations in the state in Crete, and we wouldn't get any more than what we're gonna get because of population. It amounts to about $200,000 a year, is what we get
Not
from
enough.
motor fuel tax.
And thank you to the fire department for, it seemed like the first event of the year since everybody hibernated this winter to be able to get out and see faces that we haven't seen in a long time. Eat good pancakes and see the Easter Bunny. Thank you.
Okay, for myself, I have to say that I've been working very diligently over the last 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, I guess, actually, on the quiet zone material. I completed today, hopefully, the what would appear to be the final draft of the public agency application. And I have to go back over that and proof it again. I will then send that off to the FRA contact in the Chicago area, a lady by the name of Tammy Wagner. Have her look at it to see if she passes on it to make it look like it's okay to her. And then it will be sent off to the FRA in Washington for their approval. After that happens, and assuming that there's no issues, we will get notice that it does everything it was supposed to do, and then it becomes a board decision as to whether or not you want to spend the money to the quiet zone. We are currently putting together a budget. I feel pretty confident that the number that I gave the board before, which was about $50,000, will be pretty close to what it's gonna cost. We actually met with the folks that will influence that cost the greatest last week, and that's the people who distribute or sell the delineators that go down the center of the road. That cost for the entire project is probably gonna be right around $30 grand. We also have gotta get insurance, we got signage that has to take place, we gotta pay for the installation, we have to have, trying to think what other kind of things were on there, Phil, off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. Public Works guys feel like they can install the lane delineators. I think they really shouldn't have a problem. And, but we have to have flaggers, by the way, for the, anytime you work within 25 feet of the railroad tracks on your side, you have to have a flagger on hand. They can cost you anywhere from $700 to $1,200 a day. So our intention would be to try to catch all 4 decide to spend the money on this. Once the improvements, the safety improvements have taken place, we have to have Union Pacific come out, perform an on-site inspection, and after that, we have to issue what's called a notice to establish. And once the notice to establish is sent, it gives a specific date, and after that point in time, then there will be no more train horns heard in town unless is something unusual taking place. People working right away, obviously some kind of hazardous circumstance that, they could blow the horn for, and that type of stuff. So, that's kind of where we're going with this. And I will tell you that I looked at the documents that Frankfurt sent in, and I looked at the documents that, Thornton and South Holland sent in. South Holland and Thornton had some issues. They were a little bit too generous, it appeared, with their evaluation of supplemental safety measures, or the alternate safety measures, actually. And the FRA kind of called it on them, so they had to do a little bit more. Frankfurt's document, their notice of establishment was, I think 70-some pages long. I don't think ours is gonna be anywhere close to that. I don't think there's any need for that. And I think their actual notice of intent and all that stuff that went with that was like 100-and-some pages. So, again, I don't see why they needed to do all the stuff that they did. They had a lot of, they had some different issues that we did, some of which has to do with the prospective train volumes on each A&E as opposed to what was currently observed back in 2010. So, at any rate, I think that's,
Mike, I commend you for keeping on this, because shortly after I was elected to the board in '97, I remember having discussions on this, and it just seemed like at the time it was a pipe dream, and just because of the costs and the processes, and I'm glad you stayed on it. It's not gonna be easy to get to where we wanna go, but it seems much more realistic now than it ever did, and like I said, we've been talking about this for 20 years.
well,
So-
one of the things that worked in our favor maybe was the passage of time. Because when this first came out, it pretty much required you to treat every crossing. And if you couldn't treat every crossing, you had to do it. And to treat every crossing was extremely expensive. And we actually had 2 crossings that there virtually is no cheap solution for. However, we were able to achieve the required lowering of our risk index without having to do anything to those crossings except put up some signage. So that's probably what put us over the top. And, we spent back in 2006, I wanna say, something like that, about $7,000 to have some of the initial work done, but it really was nothing more than an illustration of what could be done. And we never carried it any farther because we didn't have the money to make the improvements. So, I think that's pretty much all needs to be said about that. Anything else, Tom?
We're continuing to move forward with the Memorial Day Parade, organization. Tomorrow, we'll be sending out entry forms to all businesses, as well as the entries from last year, as well as, donation letters to all the residents, and, if they see fit to, provide a donation, they can certainly do that. None, of course, is recommended, and we encourage all of our residents to come out and support the vets. Today, Karen Telef and I finished our evaluation of the 2 responses received to the CMAP proposal for the update of our comprehensive plan. And we expect, I expect within the next week or so to just have the discussion with, CMAP on the final selection of the consultant that will be working with us, and work should be done in May of this year. That's all I got.
Bill?
Mayor, I just wanted to let everybody know on the board that we had 2 people go to a class for water license, Dan Wychocki and Kim Vincent, and they both passed their C and D. And
Was that standard for? Those Ackermans, the initial
Certified licensed water operator.
water operator?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
excellent.
that's all I know.
Chief Bill,
No report.
Martin?
Just one thing, your animal control, we've, along with, Forest Health Animal Hospital, set our annual animal inoculation day for May 10th. Be held at the Public Works Garage from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And get your rabies shots, your village tags, and other preventative, services done all that day, so that's all I have.
Lyle?
Yeah. First of all, thanks to trustee Milburn for the nice plug for the pancake breakfast. And on behalf of the association, I want to say thanks to the friends, relatives, and residents that participated in that. Along with the raffle, put it in each one of your mailboxes, the winners of the raffle. Unfortunately, none of us in the room here won. But everything stayed here in Crete this time. Tom Fink won 500, Debbie Rucklick won 300, Olivia Brownie 200, and Jen Ortel won $100. So we appreciate that effort. This week is 911 Awareness Week, and last year our fire department, Lieutenant Jim Boehner, put together a program, and we went out to the 6th grade center and spent the day out there, and we did it again this year, and it has gotten a lot of recognition across the county here. In Jim's putting this program together, he found out that a lot of kids that are that age are babysitting, and very few of them really realize how to call 911. Never did anything as far as CPR or being able to contact emergency services. So along with Will County 911, along with Eastcom Dispatch Center, and I think there was 8 of my own people out there today. We were in front of almost 360 kids and taught them how to dial 911, what type of information to give to the dispatcher, and they do actually a mock 911 call out there. So just so happens we ourselves had a call at the same time, so they were able to listen to the pagers go off, and Crete Township had a call, so they were able to hear the entire dispatch. So it was pretty impressive. Interesting, some of the questions or some of the things that the teachers wanted us to address, and that is make sure that the students know which address that they are living at. Because a lot of them
Or they're
don't.
babysitting at.
Or where they're babysitting at. Also, make sure that they have the parents' phone numbers, cell phone numbers, and where they're gonna be for the night, so that they can contact them in case of emergency. The Will County people from 911 picked up on this last year. We got a nice write-up in their quarterly newsletter, and some of the western suburbs, or western Will County communities, were over here today to observe, so that they can do the same thing over there. So it's a lot of good recognition that started right here in our town, so that's all I got.
Here. Okay, Deb, if you don't mind, I wanna go back up to my report for just 1 second, there's one thing I forgot to mention. I don't have the exact number, but, it's kind of been the standing joke around here about the state owing us money for Richmond Road. They actually got some money for Richmond Road. I wanna say it was roughly $56,000, I think, was the number. And, but what was somewhat disheartening is that it was for three invoices, if my memory is correct. Only one of which, of the 3, actually matched what we showed as what's owing to us. So, I guess there's some good news and there's some bad news, so maybe we'll get the remainders coming up here or something, but it's 56,000 that we didn't have before, and that's a good thing, so, at any rate.
Guess a check right away.
Yeah.
Really should corporate paid that too.
No, actually, corporate did pay that.
That's right.
I think I'm up to where you can. Anyway, Deb, go ahead with the communications.
We received an annual consumer video services report from AT&T. We received a couple of notifications from Comcast. One was their annual performance during 2013, talking about the number of complaints, et cetera. And the other one was about the administrative fee, that there's a change in those. We also received from the, well, actually it's through South Suburban Mayors and Managers. The Illinois EPA is sponsoring 2 hazardous waste collections, and I'm gonna put the information up somewhere, but it's also already on our website. And, so there are a couple of them, one at Moraine Valley College on May 3rd, and one at Eisenhower School on June 28th. After this, we got another, hazardous waste notification, so I have more that is available too. Lastly, this is the week where the village hall will be closed on Friday, the 18th, for the holiday. That's it.
Anyone else have communications come before the board? And then we'll move on to old business. There is nothing on the agenda under old business. Dan, do you have any other old business?
Nothing this evening.
Mark?
No.
Holly?
No.
Okay, that takes us to new business. We have a whole pile of resolutions that we have to handle this evening. The first resolution is one that pertains to accepting planning staff assistance services delivered by the Metropolitan League Plan. Tom?
Yeah, this is part of the receipt of the staff assistance, which we are receiving in the form of a consultant that will be funded 100% by CMAC as part of their local technical assistance program. And this resolution is something that they require, which basically states that we support the project and we accept the offer of staff assistance, and execute a memorandum of understanding with the scope of services, which is basically the comprehensive plan update for the village of Crete.
Do we have a number for him?
527.
5 point.
Motion to adopt resolution 2014-527.
Second.
Motion by Wade, second by Gaffney, to accept, to pass resolution 2014-527. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. The next one then is a resolution for the maintenance of streets and highways by the municipality under the use of motor fuel tax funds. This year it'll be an amount of $250,000. And this one here actually would be a motion to instruct the clerk to sign this. There is not, I don't believe, any place for myself to sign it. So,
We also got to adopt the ordinance, or the resolution,
yes, we do, yeah.
2 separate motions.
You can, yeah, it would be one, yeah.
So I'd make a motion to pass resolution 2014-528 and authorize the clerk to sign the document.
Second.
Motion by Waiter, second by Miller. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. The next one is the same type of a resolution. This one here has to do with the use of funds to pay our portion, our match portion of a LAFO resurfacing project with striping on State Street from Stager Road south to Burke Lane. And we're using MNT funds for that also. It's $21,000. And it would be the same type of motion as was previously passed. And this is going to be number
529. Motion to adopt resolution 529 and authorize the clerk to sign the document.
Second.
application. Motion by Waiter, and I'll give it to Dan this time. I'll share the wealth. No further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Let's see here. The next is a resolution to hold the annual Memorial Day Parade on Route 1, and that has to do with closing Route 1 for that purpose. So we need an authorization
draft resolution 2014-530 and authorize the village president and the village clerk to sign.
Motion by Waiter, second by Gaffney. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. The next is the resolution that authorizes the execution of a law enforcement mutual aid agreement. And we talked about this one several meetings back. This would be resolution number 531. And we need authorization for myself and the clerk to sign.
Does Jim have anything on this?
I don't think, you don't have any comments on this, do you, Jim?
No.
Not long.
Motion to adopt resolution twenty-four.
Just some, a point of discussion, it's law enforcement, not law enforcement.
Oh, I was thinking green.
You're so.
Good job.
Oh, yeah.
Law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You got it right once, you got it wrong twice.
Yeah, you know? Thank you.
You can't
for
take
giving
the
me all my
The
farm
good
notes.
news is it's right on here, though.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The John Deere's coming out.
Motion to adopt resolution 2014-531 and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Waver, second by Milburn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. Okay, a second here. The next one is a resolution to authorize the execution of an agreement between Village of Crete and State of Illinois for traffic signal improvements that are taking place at Richton Road and 394. And authorization is the mayor and the village clerk to sign this one. Also, this will be 532.
Motion to adopt resolution 2014-532 and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Waiter, second by Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. The next one is an authorization, or excuse me, an ordinance that we need to pass so that we can transfer $75,000 from the corporate fund to the road and bridge fund. And the reason we are doing that is because of the ravages of winter have decimated the road and bridge fund to the point where we are without sufficient funds to finish out the year. And keeping in mind that we don't start selling our vehicle stickers until 1st of May, we need to make payroll and cover our expenses. I can tell you that Mark Wader and myself originally had actually had a transfer in there early on last year when we were doing the corporation ordinance, but for whatever reason we decided that since we had never done that in the past, we would probably not need to do it this year. And hence
That's why we need to do it.
that's why we needed to do it, exactly. Mother Nature played a trick on us. And at any rate, that's the purpose here. So anybody needs.
Are we
to make-
passing this tonight, or?
I would like to, yes, because we are down to $3,580.
I make a motion to read ordinance 2014-08 for the first time in title only.
Second.
Okay, been a motion, a second, we would read ordinance number 2014 what was that, 08?
Yes.
08. First time in title only. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered.
Need to read it?
Yeah, we gotta read it twice, then, yes.
Oh, I thought you're not reading the title.
Oh, I'm sorry. Village of Crete, Will County, Illinois, ordinance number 2014-08, an ordinance amending ordinance 2013-15, fiscal year 13-14 appropriation budget.
Motion to read ordinance 2014-08, second time, title only.
Second.
Motion by Wader, second by Milburn, to read the ordinance for the second time in title only. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered.
motion to adopt ordinance 2014-08.
Second.
Motion and a second. We passed 2014-08. Any further discussion? Hearing none, answer yes, no, clerk calls the roll.
Trustee Milburn.
Yes.
Trustee Waiter.
Yes.
Trustee Gaffney.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
President Early.
Yes. Okay. The next item I asked to have put on the agenda. Next item I had put on the agenda has to do with allocation of video gaming receipts. As you are aware, since the first of last year, yeah, first of last year, 2013, we've been receiving gaming receipts. This year, it looks like we will end at about $25,000 roughly for the year in gaming receipts. And what I would like to do is, since this is what I would consider found money, I would like to devote until further notice these receipts to the police pension fund. And my reason for doing that is because starting in 2016, if we are not funded at a particular percentage amount, and I don't recall whether it was 80 or 90%, I think it's 90%. 90%, the police pension folks can contact either the treasurer or the comptroller's office, and they can have they can put a brick, in essence, on our tax receipts for stuff that is coming out of the state. The state income tax, sales tax. I don't think they can do anything with motor fuel tax, but they could probably do Commonwealth Edison or NICOR, and take out money. And I don't know whether it's lump sum or how it works. I'm not clear on that. Whether it's like a garnishment of one time or whether they do it over a period of time until you reach the 90% level. So, in order not to put an extreme strain on the levy process, where you have to swap dollars around from one fund to another to try to satisfy everybody's needs, this would be a pretty innocuous way to put money aside every year into the police pension fund that will hopefully, after a couple of years, get us up to that level. I think right now we're like at 78%. It actually changes from year to year. They don't do an evaluation every year, and the odd part is it doesn't say whose actuarial numbers you're supposed to take. As far as I know, the police pension has their own actuarial guy that does an analysis. He says we're at such and such percent, and the state says we're at a different percent. So, I'm kind of siding with the police pension guy because I think they're probably more in tune to what's going on here and that type of thing. And I think that the last one we got, which is now I think aged by 2 years, was like 75. So again, I think this is a simple way for us to just take these dollars every month, put them in there, and it just gets handled that way. Every year you'd be putting at least maybe like 25,000 additional, and that would actually be more than what the police pension would be requesting. So hopefully we're gaining on it. Roughly, their normal request is for about 230,000 a year. I've been trying to add a little bit to that every year by increasing their levy rate. But as it turns out, this year for our levy, I don't remember exactly how much we asked for, but we were 60,000 underfunded in the levy. So that means we asked for this much, we got 60,000 less. So what I'd like is permission from the board by motion to make this happen and continue to do this until such time as we have met our obligation.
When we stay at the same pace, how long is it?
I have no clue.
No clue.
No.
And then, kind of the reason is it's a moving target. I mean, generally speaking, all the pension funds downstate, not Chicago, not built back up, Crete's has been built back up too. But each year, it's a moving target because of the value of the investments.
Not only that, but the people that are working, you know, you pay as a percentage, the employee pays as a percentage of their salary. So like if you hire new people for the guys that are leaving, you know, then that rate is less. You know, so and then the adjustment is different. That's why the actuarial guy gets paid a lot of money to figure out, you know, what your obligations are, you know, 30 years out. And,
Isn't the state supposed to be doing an accounting of it here in the next month or two or something? Or were they gonna hire their own guys?
you know, what do you call it?
Pension board is
Pension
gonna do
board
one?
is going to,
Okay.
yeah.
And we haven't, the last one we've got has been a couple of years,
Yes,
right?
I believe it was, I thought it was 2011, maybe.
That's what I thought it was, 2011.
So they're getting ready to do it, and they're trying to get on a different timetable, so that we would always have the information in advance of having to do the levy. So, you know, that would be better for us. Thank God they understand that, and, you know, they had a pretty good year last year, but, you know, that can turn on a dime,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Which fund is the receipts going into now?
It has to go into the corporate fund first,
Okay,
because the state will not, they will not let you say, put it in this one, put it in that one, put it in this one. You can only put it in the one fund.
but then we have the authority to transfer when necessary.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would just direct the girls in the office, when this comes in, shows up in corporate, but then it'll wind up getting immediately transferred over to the police pension fund. So,
Upon our passage of this.
yeah, I mean, if you authorize me to do this tonight, then we'll start it right away. We'll start the 1st of May, so we have it coincide with our fiscal year.
And how often do we get this
Once a
money?
month.
Once a month,
Mhm.
so like $2,500 a month.
Well, it's on the front of the,
Yeah, you can see it on the front of here, I don't know how much it was this last time. We didn't
2,000.
have one this last
I
time.
thought I saw, I guess that was the last one. Oh, I was looking at the alternate, it was $2,200.
Not a lot of money, but every little bit helps.
Well, and again, it's like I said, you know, we lived all these years without having it. You know, it's pretty much what I would call town money, and, you know.
Till we
yeah,
lose
that's-
our income tax.
Huh?
Till we lose our income tax.
Yeah, that's right.
Last month's was 2262.
Yeah, it's not always 2,500, it's just kind of in that range.
Right.
So,
Where are we funded at now?
huh?
Where are we funded at now?
I mean, what are we
The
funding?
police pension fund.
We're at like 75%, so I'm at 75 or 78, I think.
We're doing much, much better than most other
Well,
units
yeah,
of government.
I gotta tell you,
With
the,
obligation.
if you go on the Illinois Municipal League website and look around there, I can't tell you exactly how to get to it, you have to do some digging. But, I think the state says that we're less than 75, I don't know, again, I don't know how they figure it, but regardless, if you go on there and you look at some of the most affluent communities, are the most underfunded communities. Oh, yeah, I mean, places like Joliet that have, you know, boats and all that stuff. The last time I looked, they were down in the 30 range.
Well, it's
They're-
reflective on where those local governments are spending their money on and what they're budgeting their money toward.
Yeah.
And they're not putting it towards the things that one would think they would be responsible to do so.
Tom, and I think it's a common, lack of knowledge is a common problem in running municipal government. And when you negotiate a union contract, almost everybody focuses entirely on what the percentage of increase that the guys want. You know, whether it's police or fire, whoever. And they neglect to remember that not only are you voting
believe I have,
We
in
say
the
it on
last,
our side.
in the last week or so. I think I
We-
did.
yeah,
We
right.
say it a lot.
Yeah, I know, we say it, yeah, but you'll never hear the unions bring that kind of stuff up, and they won't even acknowledge it,
Right,
you know?
right, right.
But that's just, that's the grim reality, you know, it's not just one thing, it's really three things. And, I would venture to guess if you talk with municipal officials across the state, most of them will miss that connection, so. But, being as it may, I'd like some kind of direction on this tonight, if someone would choose to do so.
I'd make a motion to, transfer funds on the, video gaming, income, starting, the next fiscal year out of corporate and into the police pension
Are
fund.
we making this permanent, or is it just for 1 year?
Until rescinded,
Until we
that would be what I would suggest.
That's fine with me.
You know, have that,
Yeah.
is that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Waiter, second by Johnson. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. The next item, I can put this on here at the request of, not at the request, but after having a discussion with Dan Taylor. And, I don't expect us to talk about this tonight, but, we probably at some point ought to have maybe like a board work session and kind of talk about capital items for our future. Again, not that we have any money to be doing anything capital, but it's always good to visit those items, and so we know what our projected capital needs are, and then we can start looking for ways to potentially fund these things. I will sit down and talk with Dan about this, and if the board is favorable to doing this, and we'll try to pick up maybe a board meeting where we don't have a lot of stuff on the agenda, and maybe we'll spend a little bit of time on capital stuff. Again, it's not something we have to do like tomorrow. We probably won't resolve it all in one meeting, I wouldn't think. I think that'd be awfully optimistic. And we'll just see what we come up with. We do have old lists that existed in the past that we can call on to kind of get us going. And
An example of a capital project would be like what? The
Well-
downtown would be one,
well, yeah, I mean, let's
Water
face it.
main.
water.
Actually, the flag zone would be a capital expenditure. It's kind of
Probably on that list somewhere.
It was on that list, and but it's kind of a borderline thing, only because, capital typically means something that is of, significant value for all intents and purposes. For us, would be something like maybe over 25,000, and it would be of a permanent nature that would, you may potentially depreciate or something like that, like a building. You try not to really put like squad cars in there, because those are really more disposable. It's not computers. It may be, it's usually larger items, you know, it still needs a sewer vacuum, you know, truck or something like that, it cost $300,000. And, you know, fire truck, you know, a new building of some sort, you know, those are kind of things that are typically capital. So, start thinking about that, and, we will discuss this at a future date. The next is the disposition of village canine. I don't know who's gonna handle this. Chief Levy, are you gonna, handle the disposition of village canine?
Want me to give a report on it?
Please do.
Effective today, Dave Gillespie, who was our canine officer, has resigned, and he's being sworn in as we speak at the City of Joliet Police Department at their city council meeting. And we then were faced with the problem what to do with Hans, our canine dog. I reached out to Landheim, who is the dog training facility that we purchased him from, try to get an idea what the dog would be worth. The dog, no matter what its actual age is, its work age is about 9 years. Hans is just about to turn 8 years old, so he's got limited value as a canine dog. However, he's got some extensive training, including
defending his handler and things like that, which makes him less than desirable for adoption, I would think. What I did do is I briefly spoke with Chief Britton of the Joliet Police Department and tried to work up some sort of a relationship where he would be able to take Hans, or an agreement rather, which he would be able to take Hans for a fee and then incorporate it into his own canine unit and then allow Dave to go there as a canine handler. However, appointment to canine handler is part of their labor agreement with their patrolmen's union, and you have to be on the Joliet Police Department for a minimum of 3 years before you can be considered available to be assigned in the canine. As a result, by the time Dave is there 3 years, Hans is well beyond his useful purpose as a canine animal. We were then faced with the problem of trying to find somebody that would buy him. There's not a large demand right now because typically if police departments are looking to invest in a canine, they want a young canine, so they know they're gonna get 9 years out of him. So then we would have to board him, care for him medically, get his shots and everything else while we try to find somebody to purchase him. In the meantime, Dave has become very attached to the dog, just like anybody in this room that may have owned a dog sometime in their life, and he has offered to purchase the dog. Basically, Dave hasn't won the lottery lately, so he said he can afford $2,000 to keep the dog. And that's what I presented to the mayor, that if, and the village attorney, that if we can reach some sort of an agreement for the cost of $2,000 to the village of Crete, Dave would sign documents relieving the village of Crete of any liability as a result of owning the dog, which was previously a canine animal for the village of Crete Police Department, and also any liability on the that may occur on the kennel that the village of Crete had erected in his yard, which is a cyclone fence kennel. So that's what's before you today.
After speaking to the chief, I prepared a document which just authorizes the disposition as summarized, and then a couple of other documents, which is a sale agreement between the village and Mr. Gillespie, and a release of liability and indemnity agreement that we would be signing as part of that.
And I'm excited to get rid of the dog before he starts drawing on the police pension.
This is $2,000.
That's why you wanna-
I'm not gonna negotiate on it.
Hans is all in on this.
You know,
We're not sure.
Let's not answer that question.
I'd make a motion to authorize the disposition of the canine unit.
I second.
Motion by Waiter, second by Taylor.
And can we stop using the term disposition of the canine?
How's the dog feel about
Does
that?
Hans have anything to say on this?
Is this an
Is he
ordinance
here?
or
Yeah,
resolution?
we were gonna put disposal, but that sounds.